right, folks, enhance your viewing. Tune into Enterprise TV. That's where we have Homo Politicus, which interrogates issues thrown up by the Nigerian Federation, just so you get to know. Today, federal government targets $500 million loan for rural roads, aggregating country loans. Let's go there. Shall we begin this discussion by letting us know that public borrowing lets governments spend more than they raise or make in revenue. So country loans are a norm worldwide. At high debt levels, governments have less capacity to provide support for ailing banks, and even when they do, sovereign borrowing costs may rise further. Now, so much about the preamble. Now, get the news now. The federal government, we can tell you, is seeking a $500 million loan from the World Bank to enhance, that is, fix rural roads, infrastructure, and agricultural marketing across the country. The lender said the fund was expected to address the dire need, that is, serious need for a better connectivity in the rural community in Nigeria, where an estimated 92 million people currently lack access to good roads. Of course, the need to tame the anxiety of stereotypes who are yet to aggregate the gains of country borrowings or loans cannot be overemphasized. Shall we have a discussion, please? Let's introduce my discussants, and so in no particular order, we meet and greet Fred Nzako, who is an attorney at law and a development economist. He also doubles as a public affairs analyst. Barrister Nzako, I greet you. Welcome.
Thank you, citizen.
Yeah. Fred is joined by the unputdownable journalist, communications expert, Emeka Madunagu. Emeka, I greet you too.
Good day, citizen. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, federal government targets $500 million loan for rural roads. Simple, straightforward?
Well, I think the federal government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is trying to play some funny games. Now it's
funny or phony?
Funny and funny. It's no longer funny. It's moving from funny to funny, because
I got you first time.
It's not the business of the federal government to handle trunk C roads. Trunk A roads are under the federal government. Trunk B, state government. Trunk C, under the local government. Now, the same federal government went to court, to the Supreme Court, to get it to compel states to surrender all the control of the local governments.
To the local government.
No, to surrender control of the local government, well, to whoever, because not necessarily to the local governments. Since the Constitution clearly states that the local government shall be under the purview of the states. Secondly, the local governments are not federating units, they are not subnationals. Only the states are federating units and subnationals. So now the matter is still in court, and then the federal government is jumping ahead. Is it now in anticipation of victory over the states or over the Constitution? The simple thing is, like I've said again,
Emeka, but aren't you preempting anything here?
The
federal government wants $500 million loan for rural roads, and you know that local governments can't fix roads because they are not independent.
No, it is not. With due respect, I will not agree with that. Because the states are supervising local government. If we talk about rural roads, even in the urban centers, there are bad roads. So it's a general problem. But what I'm saying is that we should not, in trying to solve a problem, overthrow the Constitution. The federal government should do its best. President Tinubu should rally around APC governors who form the majority and say, okay, we are going into another constitutional amendment. This is the reason why I want local government, why it's necessary, not I, why it's necessary for local governments to be autonomous. And so let us all support this autonomy, this drive for autonomy. And everybody will be happy at the end of the day.
So local governments would have their own money to run their own show, including, for instance, these roads.
If it is desirable during the constitutional amendment. But again, sorry, let me just quickly add. That 500 million is better to pump it into agriculture than roads. Pump it into agriculture. From agriculture, other things will flow. Otherwise, if you put into roads, how much will you be putting every year into the roads? You know, how many loans will you be collecting every year?
All right, Emeka, Vice Chancellor seems to be counting your words. So let's...
Yeah, but I agree with Emeka.
Let's go to him.
I agree with Emeka 101% that what the federal government is doing is wrong. Completely wrong. And Emeka even went to the extent of suggesting what the government should do. APC is in charge.
Sorry. I'm not unnecessarily interrupting.
Yes.
But so Emeka is right in saying government should not go into
It is not their
borrowing.
duty. It should it is not. Of course, government can borrow, but for what? This one they have said for rural roads.
Yeah.
Federal government rural roads.
But we have done it before.
Look, Jones.
We have been there before.
No, we have not been there before. If we were there before, we were there in error. And it is that error that we want to correct. That federal government has no business with rural roads. The one you call rural roads are essentially untarred, but graded and made motorable, but many of them untarred. These are roads that lead to the farms. Because the idea is why they are tying into agriculture, agric production, so that they will now pave the roads so that people can now go to the farms. Is it the farms where...
Except that Emeka didn't add agriculture.
Is it... Emeka said so. Is it the farms...
Okay, he did.
He did. He mentioned agriculture. Is it the farms... And that's why he said that federal government should instead pump that money into agric production. Is it the same farm where the farmers cannot access to farm because of insecurity? Meanwhile, by the provision of the Constitution, the local government is under the state. That is where I wanted to mention the issue. The state assembly make laws.
An attempt to seek autonomy for local governments does not arise at all.
Attempt to seek autonomy for local government must be a sincere attempt. And that is where I say that since Mr. President's party is in the majority in most of the states of Nigeria, I expect the party, if they are sincere, lobby. Because most of these things, the state governors shoot them down when they go for concurrent legislative action at the various state houses of assembly. They shoot them down. And that is why you still have local government joint account. And that's why you don't have any credible election at the local government level. And that's why you don't have democracy at the grassroots, which is at the local government level. There is no governor in Nigeria, mark my word, that has ever conducted a credible local government election. Those who conduct are they just sit down in government houses, write names, do a charade,
coronation,
and then coronate the names of the average. So for government to do something meaningful in this regard,
the local government must be involved. I do underscore the fact that rural roads belong to local governments.
Yes.
But the local governments which are
under the state government,
local governments which are without a backbone as we sit here.
Absolutely.
So how would they fix rural roads?
Good. If federal government wants rural roads fixed, federal government should do one thing. One, the money should be sent to state governments.
Absolutely.
Federal government can now monitor what the state government is doing.
And you trust that?
Of course, if they cannot trust that, then why are they giving them the money? If they cannot go to that extent, why are they giving them the money? Because, look, if the federal government gives you a contractor, for example, a contract to go and do rural roads without carrying the state government along, the state government will chase away the contractor.
That's true.
Chase the contractor away.
Yes.
And that money will go. Yes. So, if the federal government really wants rural roads to be done, in the immediate, they should work with state governments and then work out a formula where the money will be seen to be adequately and logically deployed, so that the state government themselves will not abuse that fund. Because very soon they will see it as a largesse that it drops from federal government and then the money will be wasted.
Or if you like palliative.
But meanwhile, it is a loan that will be paid.
Yeah, but Emeka, is it possible to aggregate country loans here?
Yes, you see, the thing is simple.
Because the man on the street, anytime he or she hears loans, the stereotyping comes in.
Yes, very simple. I'm a businessman. So when I look at issues of business, I always say, let's run business according to business principles. Yes, let's run business according to business. You know, let's run business according to how business is ought to be run. When you're talking of a loan between entities, I believe government should now introduce the concept of MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, between the federal government and the states. That okay, good. We have identified maybe 5,000 rural roads leading to key farming communities, and then we would like for them to be fixed. But we would like for states to show commitment, just like you beg, like you do in the primary education. Now, give us your matching, give us your own counterpart funding.
Yes.
Then we will put down our counterpart funding. But take note that this money will be disbursed and then it will be deducted as source from your allocation. And then also take note that this money will be channeled through the infrastructure bank. We have an infrastructure bank in Nigeria. You don't give it directly to them. You give it to the infrastructure bank. The infrastructure bank will now money. If I will first of all do verification, so there is not some phantom road, non-existent roads that will be put there. Verify and then pump in the money. It's a laudable objective that you want to fix rural roads, but don't do something that might lead us into a constitutional crisis. Because any state
raise more eyebrows.
Any state can go to the Supreme Court, contract with federal government and other states to Supreme Court.
On account of this,
that you forced a project on my state that my people didn't ask me, didn't send me to ask for, and that will be a problem.
All right, Emeka, gentlemen, I hear we must go on a short break now to allow certain things to. We should be back shortly. Please stay with us. Enterprise TV, your one-stop shop for news, programs, human angle stories, the economy, sports, and much more. We go the extra mile to bring incredible details to you. So hop on the train now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth. Thank you, folks, for staying. Let's go back there. Federal government targets $500 million loan for rural roads. Perhaps to enhance agriculture. My two discussants are Messrs. Fred Nzako, an attorney at law, and Emeka Madonagu, journalist. Gentlemen, so I talked about aggregating country loans, Fred. Country borrowing is a norm. Government knows why it goes out borrowing. But I hear that the lender, in some cases, would monitor the loan, right?
Yes, in some cases, the lender will determine what the loan is going to be used. We call it tied loan.
Okay.
And then most times...
tied to something.
Loan, yes, because the loan will be tied to specific projects. Unlike the one that is untied, that is like free. You just give the loan, let the borrower determine what the loan will be deployed to. And that is where you could see a borrower take a loan and go to marry extra wife. All right? And so in case of individuals, the same way...
Or take a loan to conduct a burial.
Conduct a burial. The same way a government can take a loan.
Frivolous.
And frivolously spend the money without anything that will bring back.
Highly.
Exactly. But begin to spend it on running costs of government and then overbloated bureaucracy and recurrent expenditure of government. At the end of the day, the whole essence of the loan will be defeated, because most times loans that are tied to projects are supposed to bring feedback by way of return on investment.
Before we came on air, we took a shot at the subject matter, and I talked about the Babangida days. Remember, country loans came to the fore in my country in the Babangida years. Remember when Babangida went for the IMF loan and asked every Nigerian, including your grandmother and my grandmother, to debate it.
Whether to take or not to take.
You know, the debate continues till tomorrow.
Yes, it does.
So when do you think we would be free from borrowing from the lender?
No, just if you say free from the lender, as we speak, our total debt burden profile is over 100 trillion naira. Over 100 trillion naira. Our last budget of this year was a budget of 27 trillion, out of which the deliverables, or rather the recoverables, the ones that we can generate apart from the one that will show up with the loan, is even less than 50% of that. So the rest will now be shored up from loan stock by government.
Okay.
So if what we produce domestically from our oil, from our internally generated revenue, customs and the rest of them, FIRS, VAT and the rest, if all that gives you an average of about 10 to 12 trillion, that means that for us to liquidate our present loan stock will take about 10 good years if we don't do any other thing as a country. That all the money we generate we use to pay our debts. So that now tells you that in the last budget of last year, about 90% of the budget outlay was to service debts. So that simply tells you the gargantuan challenge.
The economists will tell you it's not a healthy one.
It's not a healthy one at all. So we cannot get out of this loan problem in good time. But the only thing that will help us is if, starting from today, we try as much as possible to deploy our loan to productivity.
Good.
That is most important.
You are leading me there. I'm almost there, Emeka. So the only way to save the national currency is for us to return to production. And Emeka, we cannot return to full-time production if the rural roads are not fixed.
Well, there has never been a time we stopped producing in Nigeria. At least we produce oil, even though, well, at a lower level than the OPEC quota. There are things, production has been going on. You know, we have factories and all of that, industries and all of that. But the point is that our capacity, we have been underwhelming. Then, the other thing is this. When you talk about the rural roads, can we borrow the presidential system from the United States of America. Can we also borrow their system of borrowing? Which is, you don't tie any loan to your resources. What you do is that if you take a sovereign debt, you raise bills, treasury bills, which you trade.
Or bonds.
Or bonds, which you trade. So don't tie it to oil because there could be disruption arising from maybe weather,
as they are,
insecurity, or
oil theft.
Oil theft. Even the oil wells may not even produce. There are oil wells in Nigeria that have stopped producing.
Yes.
So, that's why you see the oil majors, anticipating that very soon some of these wells, they are now moving offshore. Moving offshore. So, when you look at all that, I don't say, okay, that if I want to borrow money from somebody personally, all right, I'm expecting that, okay, my son will collect salary at the end of the month. And my daughter will sell maybe so-and-so drums of palm oil. Okay, no. What you do, you make your loans bankable. For instance, in rural areas, if you want to do roads, good and fine, very easy. The Chinese are the people we should go to. Because I've heard, a friend was telling me that a friend of hers, that what she does is, she helps the Chinese to go around different rural, areas,
Communities,
rural communities to look for land where they can cultivate cassava, just cassava, and then harvest for export. So good and fine. Look for such, opportunities and say, okay, you know what will happen? All right, Chinese, we're going to, act as a guarantor between you, the states and the local governments. And say, okay, fine. We need so and so area for, farming and exports. All right. Now, please put in money. We need to do XYZ roads, whether it's for farming, whether it's for logging, a timber, whether it's for whatever, anything resource-based. Okay, even if it's the mines. And say, okay, fix so and so roads, or else invest in these bonds. We're raising green bonds. Invest in these bonds, because we're going to tie these bonds to this, and this, and this. Invite the Chinese, invite America, invite the West, invite, Lebanese, Indians, and even Nigerians, come and invest. And then when they buy those bonds, you use those bonds to fix those roads. So now don't forget, when they're bringing out there will be, value chains arising from it. They're going to pay taxes, produce taxes. They're going to pay, of course, you don't pay VAT on raw food stuff. But of course, if you now encourage them on those farms, set up processing plants. Yes. Like tomato, don't carry tomato all the way from Karanamoda to Lagos. What you do, process it there. Then in the processing, as they are coming out, they are paying you VAT, they are paying you withholding tax. There are a lot of things you are getting. So at all the levels,
in the middle
money is flowing.
In the middle belt, you can go into aggressive juice production, tomato paste, all kinds of things. And you can even produce. There are so many things. You see, let me tell you something. My wife and I, was it early this morning? Woke up quite early. We're just doing some on Nigeria's issues. And my wife said, do you know truly, this country is not poor? That God has so blessed this country, that this country has so much. What exactly do you remember to tell her, God is blessing Nigeria, but Nigeria is not blessing God?
You see, it has to be,
Emeka, not utilizing the gifts God has bestowed on her. Fred, because it's a crying shame that in 2024, we are still importing bitumen when we have deposits here.
Second largest
after Venezuela. So our problems are man-made.
You see, what Emeka has described is not far-fetched. That is taking it from export processing zone. This is localization of export processing zone.
Yes.
That's all. In that case, even the rural road you are thinking about will be provided. There will be productivity at that local level, and there will be value added to those products instead of just exporting, harvesting and exporting them raw.
Yeah.
The process of adding value creates employment, and then even creates other derivatives that you get from all those things.
Yeah.
But these are when government is sincere. If government is sincere, these things are not difficult. You talked about, is it the people that are not there, or how do we now, the people are there. But where is the will, the sincere will to do what is right? And that is why, okay, you now take this loan, you are now tying the loan to our mono resource, the oil, and then you now collect the loan, and before you know it, $500 million is not a small money.
Yeah.
Before you know it, that money is no more there. It just keep multiplying and adding to our debt stock.
Yeah.
And that is what we should be avoided. That should be avoided.
Emeka, the index finger of the producer is saying, begin to wind up. So, I know you can take it home in 60 seconds. Federal government targets $500 million loan for rural roads. Can you bury it in 60 seconds? Beginning.
How much is $500 million? 750 billion naira. That's nothing. I'm also into construction. That's nothing. By the time you start this road, you're not talking of roads in via Ikoyi that, at least the residents keep. You're talking of rough roads. You're talking of some places impassable. You look at the Niger Delta. 750 billion will not do rural roads, even only in the Niger Delta. You can't. It's nothing, because how much is 1 kilometer of road? And into construction too. How much is a kilometer of road? What is 750 billion? So it is better you do it on a rolling basis, on a rolling basis.
You are not angling
with
for a
funds.
contract, are you? No.
No. What I'm talking about is
if you get given, you not.
No, I don't look for government contracts, because I don't want EFCC to come after me. So what I'm saying is that just raise bonds. Whether you want to raise 500 million or whatever, raise bonds. Look for some smart PR guys, advertising guys, to prepare some fine packages. Push them through social media, push them through different CNN and the rest of them, then go on road shows. Market the rural area that you want to open up Nigeria's hinterland, the basket of opportunities. I'm telling you, just tell them that, okay, we're going to deal with issues of insecurity, whatever there is. And then it will be on a rolling basis, like the barrister has said. And the interesting thing, what is export? Moving goods from one place to another. But usually we think export is only moving from Nigeria to another country. Also moving from one locality to another. So you can have localized export processing zones that will give you good money.
Okay. Barrister Nzako, how do you bury this for us?
There is issue of law. There is issue of structure. Issue of law requires that government should not get involved in rural roads without working out with with state government. The Land Use Act will be a stumbling block, a very major stumbling block.
Absolutely.
That aspect of it is not handled. The second aspect is the local government is in the hands of the state. So anything you want to do at the local level, the state must be part of it. So it is not just easy to just go and collect the money. And if all these legal and structural issues are not solved, the money will come and the money will filter, will go.
All right. So, gentlemen, I don't think we are in a catch-22 situation.
No. Just simple. You see, Nigeria's problems are not difficult. They are there. The solutions are there on the table. You're talking of local government autonomy. When the Land Use Act vests all the lands in the state in the governor. So which autonomy will local governments exercise?
What are you talking about?
If even the Supreme Court says, okay, local governments have autonomy, and the state governor is the landlord, which autonomy, where are you going to exercise it?
Okay. All right, we'll drop it there. But let me thank Barrister Fred Nzako for coming. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We'll see you again, right? Very soon.
Absolutely.
And Emeka Madunago.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you too.
Thank you, sir.
So the debate continues. Should government go for it or not? Or should there be a second long, hard look at the subject matter? Homo politicus greets you. I do too. I'm out of here until the next time. Bye-bye now. I'm Citizen Jones Hussein. Thank you. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.